Loki wanted to talk to me about something, but
Okay.
he can wait.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to talk to you real quick about the high risk stop stuff that I did the other day. I was gonna talk to Johnson, but he wasn't responding, and I thought I'm not waiting around for you. I'm going 42 because I was way past my off duty time. Yesterday he did come around, but he was gone before I could speak with him again. And I found out yesterday from Vinny, who I've had a phone call from Zolo. Basically, the general gist of that is that I'm supposed to show respect for those people because they've been around for a long time. You know, they're
No,
notorious, I
that's
guess.
stupid.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't know who they were. I'm gonna be honest. I don't just assume who's in a vehicle. I'm not gonna do that.
I
But then
I
Vinny
s-
said
I spoke to
he'd come.
Vinny a
Yeah.
little bit about it. It was more Peters was talking, and I woke up and was listening to their conversation
Hmm.
and kind of interjected a little bit. I said, "You were following procedure. You did everything right, per procedure. Now, what I can do is I can look at the procedure, to see if there's anything that we can adjust as far as communication on scene. But I backed you up. I think you did everything
No, I
right
appreciate that.
there. I think that at the end of the day, I understand that Johnson was trying to de escalate and help,
Yeah.
but it was insubordinate.
Yeah.
I it's while I do think Johnson was genuinely trying to help, at the end of the day, you were the scene lead and you gave him an order and he disobeyed that order.
Well, it did exactly what I was afraid it would do. And now they're saying how Johnson was really good and like actually what he did was, it was the way it should have been, but that's not for them to say. But then that's going to make things harder for Johnson to understand as well.
Well, Johnson put you in a very awkward position
Mhm.
because now you're dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
Um, and this is what happens when officers don't back other officers, and then it opens the door for people to point fingers. So I think even though Johnson, I generally don't think he was trying
No, I
to
don't think
do any
he's
harm.
no, no, no. I don't
Um,
think he's done it maliciously or anything
I
like that.
I think he needs to understand that he has now put everybody in a very awkward position from his actions. At least that's my take on it. That's what
No,
I've
I
taken from the
agree.
whole situation.
Yeah.
It could have been you, it could have been anybody, but at the end of the day, if somebody's leading a scene and they give a direct order, I don't care who it
Mhm.
is, listen to them. If it's the wrong call, that person will be dealt with.
Yeah, after the fact, right? Like the so with what happened, with what ended up happening, because then Bean took over and walked up because I'm holding in the primary possession. He walked up to tase the suspect. I spoke with Maxwell about the laundromat shooting yesterday that ended up at Cyprus, and she believes that the person she spoke to inside of the laundromat was Peanut. She doesn't have the proof, obviously, for criminal
Yeah,
charges or anything like
she
that.
mentioned that too.
But
Was
yeah,
Peanut's blood found on scene of
I believe so. Actually, I think someone mentioned it. I
we
don't know because I
haven't
didn't do the
we
evidence.
haven't done anything with that. I don't know if we're going to pursue charges or not against them.
Right.
The thing, like, shootouts happen, but the thing about this was the immediate escalation. Like, the way that it was explained to me, from officers as well as the witness or the hostage on scene,
Mm-hmm.
was everything was fine. Everything was pretty cordial. They were having a civil conversation, and then just bam, they opened fire on officers. There was no
So
warning.
yeah, so it was. I believe it. I have my suspicions to be that it was deliberate and it was regarding the high risk stop because I had two conversations yesterday. One with Zola, one with Vinny, where both of those I get on with both of those fine. We regularly have conversations. I understand that they have a different way of living to you and I understand that they bend and break the rules and that they can be aggressive, but you know, I communicate with them at least, and they are able to communicate with me in a civilized way. They were clearly not happy, and I feel very much like they did it out of a "you didn't show us respect" kind of thing, which, you know, I spoke with them about, and I said respect is a two-way street. If, you know, if someone's not going to someone's going to treat if someone's going to speak to someone shittily, then they kind of should expect it back, right? um that I mean, it didn't even happen like that, but yeah.
So
Peanut apparently said to Maxwell that blood needed to be shed.
okay, that's silly.
Yeah.
And a little dramatic.
Yeah.
So my thoughts about this for de-escalating in the future,
Okay.
as far as high risk stops goes, the purpose of the high risk stop, it's already an escalation on our part, right?
Yeah.
It's inherently an escalation. And the purpose of getting them in detainment, like you said when we talked about it this the first time, is to get them all detained, get them cuffed, and then question.
Mhm.
But do you think, you know, it would be worthwhile stating like the reason, like very quickly, just so that they're not like, you know, surprise Pikachu, what's going on, you know, just there was an officer
Yeah, I
down
think
in
we
the
could give them a
area.
vague yeah. Yeah.
There was an officer down in the area. We just need to detain you and question you. You know, something
I
along
think,
those lines. Just
yeah.
that, like.
The issue that I have with that though is they did say that, you know, after that, if we'd have just said that, they would have complied. However, while
But
we were on the stop,
that's not necessarily true. That's, you
no,
know.
while we were on the stop, they were adamant, and this is something that they spoke to me about afterwards. They said, "Are you going to be searching us?" Which obviously sounds hella sus, right? But at the same time, no. Inherently, that's not what we're doing right now. We just want to identify you, ask you questions, and ask how you came about to be in that area, right? We're investigating at that point. We're not just gonna, and it's because in the past people have had their rights violated on high risk stops. Um, People used to
Yeah,
pull people out of
it's
the car, get them to the side of the
completely
road, and do full searches. That was but that the
that,
thing
and that
is
is that
that was
is a
years ago.
completely reasonable question. You know, if
Yeah,
that is the case, it's understandable that they would ask that. Or we could even say something of like, there was a crime committed in this area, you are on scene, we need to just stop and detain you, you know, for questioning.
yeah.
Like,
I
we
think
don't,
if we could just give them a vague excuse, maybe, but yeah,
or just
I
not an
don't.
excuse, but just like a reason
Well, not
for the
yeah.
detainment.
Explanation is what I
Yeah.
meant. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. The high risk stops are just, I'm gonna put it blunt, kind of shitty no matter what. Um, I don't like high risk stops personally. I know that we have to do them, but I'm just,
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't do them hardly ever. At the moment, well, compared to what we used to, the amount that we used to do, we don't do them as often anymore. We do our best to de-escalate a situation, but this was like the conclusion of like a large scale event that had just been going on for hours, that we believe may have been like connected. We just had an officer held at the top of a multi-story parking lot over the side of it. Um, then obviously Denzel was beaten down and incapacitated inside MRPD. It's not like a decision that was made lightly. It was kind of like, okay, these people could be very dangerous. They could be completely uninvolved, but they could also be very dangerous. Like,
yeah, I mean, they could be the ones that committed, you know,
yeah.
the crime. It's so complicated, right? Because you have
Mm-hmm.
to find that line, and figure out like how far you push that line.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that there's inherently a right answer to this, like a right or a wrong answer. I think it will always be a kind of case by case. But I do think that there is some merit to, you know, at the time of the high risk stop, you know, before you start directing them on what to do, you know,
Mm-hmm.
stating there was just an officer shooting, or, you know, an officer involved situation. We're just detaining everybody in the area for questioning.
Mhm.
You know, and then it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, they're ultimately they're gonna flee if they're gonna flee, right? It doesn't really matter
Oh
what
yeah,
we